A little guessing game. Which is the human foot? A, B, or C? Open the comments, drop your answer below. You done? Great, because the answer is C. A is Lucy, B is Homo erectus, and C is Homo sapiens, us. B is from a site in Kenya where scientists discovered a trackway, kind of like the Laetoli tracks that I covered before, and they gave us a lot of insight into how the feet of Homo erectus looked and worked in comparison to Lucy and us. The Homo sapien walk has a specific transfer of momentum when we move. So we start with the heel strike. The heel is the first thing that hits the ground. And then we shift the momentum around the arch, cut into the ball, and then push off with our big toes. The smaller toes lift up as balancers. Here's a diagram showing what I'm talking about compared to a gorilla or chimpanzee foot. This discovery is important because we don't have the feet of any other hominin except for Neanderthals. As you can see, my boy doesn't have a foot to stand on. For whatever reason, we just don't get the feet very often. But we do get the footprints, and it tells us a lot. While Homo erectus feet were more human-like, they were still more similar to Australopithecus, or Lucy. See, Lucy walked in a way that required an entirely different gait. And we know that. And that's why this middle part is a human trying to imitate the bottom gait required in order to have this kind of print. As you see on the bottom, we have two red marks on the heel and on the ball of the foot. And that indicates a much more flat lay down instead of a progressive kind of like a worm kind of thing, right? But we don't really have a worm like a wavy lay down. We have this like clanky shift in momentum that creates a lot of torque in our joints that we don't need. Okay, and that torque results in hip issues later in life. And really, if it was any other animal, I personally think that we would call it hip dysplasia. But that's another topic for another day. But we find this time and time again, this type of foot with Homo erectus, with Neanderthals, and they're all much closer to each other than to us. And we have this completely different foot. It's a lot more streamlined. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, we only have the feet of Neanderthals because for whatever reason, the feet go first. But this is a foot of Neanderthal. This is a footprint of a Neanderthal. This is a foot of a human. Oh, this is a foot of a human. And this is a footprint of a human. So when you see feet like this and these two on the left, it indicates a big, thick, fleshy pad that's flat, is built for living outside in the weather for a lifetime. Which, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, if you're walking on 2 feet and you're going all kinds of places, you're living in all different niches in the environment, it would make sense that your feet would be built for walking on most kinds of terrain. And we just don't really have that. Not to the extent of this. You can really see it here where the scan is the least colored. That's where the ankle is, right? And you can see it here. But it's a little further back for humans. So they have an ankle that's shifted up forward. This indicates a completely different walk. And this is for a completely different kind of animal. Because of their bone density, we know that they were much more muscular, so really no arch is going to support that kind of weight. We have the forefoot that's shortened and widened compared to ours. The ankle shifted forward, and the heel is widened compared to ours. Here's a Homo erectus track from 2009, and still no arch. So one question I've always had is, why did the feet essentially remain the same? Just minor adaptations, when you switch genuses, but also just moving around and inhabiting different environments, and then suddenly switch to our feet, which there's a lot of issues with our feet in comparison. And their feet had issues as well, but it seems to have persisted for millions of years, and maybe even longer than that. So, and when you look at animals like turtles, like jellyfish, like crocodiles, sharks, when natural selection finds something that works, it keeps it. And that may be a underrepresentation of the complexity of evolution. I know it works in mysterious ways. This is mind blowing to me. Maybe I'm such a nerd that this is only interesting to me, but this isn't talked about nearly enough. If you like this content, follow. If you don't like it, follow. That's it.